works like it says in Revelation 18. So you see how Jeremiah 51 is like a gold mine when translating Revelation, right? Deciphering. So Zechariah 12 and Amos 5. And it also says in Revelation, it says, just like the prophet said, right? So they're referring to the prophets' prophecies, right? Hosea, right? Jeremiah, Amos, Zechariah, and so on and so forth. Okay, everyone who talks about the end of the days of the Lord, it's one big puzzle to be pieced together. And this is meant to be, this is meant to be put together by a bunch of people working together, right? So when I say, hey, people should be helping me, it's like, yes, this book was made by the oppressor for a bunch of people who are allowed by the oppressor to gather, to piece together, and then in the oppressor's spirit, pretend that they're right with God, okay? Because there was no Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order in Rome, okay? It's a bunch of people in the military and other to pretend they're right with God, and in the Luciferian spirit to abuse everybody. And some even argued that I should leave it alone because it's their book and and then I should let them do it, right? But that's obviously wrong to do that. It is so evil to pretend you're doing God's work and to be a mere rape cult, governing class, sponsor scum. It's so, so, so evil. Okay. The Lord has vindicated us. Come, let us tell in Zion what the Lord our God has done. Sharpen the arrows. Take up the shields. The Lord has stirred up the kings of the Medes because his purpose is to destroy Babylon. The Lord will take vengeance for his temple. Okay, so notice they're saying sharpen the arrows, right? Saying to the angels, saying to the spirit world, okay? It's saying to those who use mind, body, soul, and spirit in the divine order, right? To sharpen their martial arts skills, right? To sharpen their spirit. And I'm not talking about, mere Eastern thinking, right? Mere moving energy. We're talking about the Spirit of God. Even in Eastern religion, in some of them at least, they have concepts of other beings. In this case, it is the one true God, the one true God Spirit infusing the person's body, which includes their energy, okay? And he sharpens his arrows, okay? He prepares his shields, right? He sharpens his weapons, his mechanism, sharpen your wits, and so on and so forth. And if that means accepting sabotage, then that's the path. The path comes with sabotage. Matthew 5, Paul's letters, all who wish to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will be persecuted. So one has to prepare themselves mentally to scramble to do God's work and to start facing the enemy through sabotage and be screened out. That is key here. I've gone with the Bible for years. You see me focus on the Bible intensely, for those of you who've been following my videos, intensely, really intensely, more than all the years before that I started making videos. In the last 5 years, really intensely since 2017, really digging into the Bible and really presenting the proofs that I was right about the things I said the years leading up to that, except for the minor mistakes I made and like things that I would even consider me not knowing that I'm Christ a minor mistake, because my argument was still that I should be the leader, and it was a sound argument. Okay, I said I'm the only one conveying spiritual power. I'm the only one doing the right thing, and I was able to discern that, to ascertain that. Okay. So now, again, you see how it's not saying turn the other cheek, right? It says lift up a banner against the walls of Babylon, reinforce the guard, station the watchman, prepare an ambush. The Lord will carry out his purpose, his decree against the people of Babylon. You who live by many waters and are rich in treasures, your end has come, the time for you to be destroyed. Okay? So it says, you who live by many waters. Remember, there's the prostitute with a cup in her hand, and she's sitting by many waters. So it's referring to Babylon's system, but it's also referring to Jerusalem, which is like the pride and joy of Babylon's system, because Jerusalem is the one who kills the prophets. So the component of Babylon's system that's done the most harm is like the heart of Babylon's system. Jerusalem is like the heart and the mind of Babylon's system, and it's not necessarily just Jerusalem and Israel, where Jerusalem used to be in the nation of Israel and Palestine or wherever it is. Okay? It is also Europe. Okay, it is also America. It is also China to some degree. It is also any first world nation, right, developed nation that You know, it's even called first world back in the day, right? It said first and foremost, the guilt for the world is in the developed nation, right? The first world nation. It's first, and that's the heart of the problem when they talk about the inhabitants of the earth and the nations being drunk. Who's more drunk than the developed nations? Okay, who's expressing their drunkenness and contaminating the world with their spiritual prostitution and spiritual drunkenness and being drunk off the blood of the saints more than the developed nations? All right. Yeah, no offense to anybody. This is my freedom of speech. This is the right thing to do. This is what's best for the people of your nations. If you do not care about the people of your nations more than your nation's reputation, you don't care about their souls, then you can go to hell. You who live by many waters and are rich in treasures, your end has come, the time for you to be destroyed. The Lord Almighty has sworn by himself, I will surely fill you with troops, as with a swarm of locusts, and they will shout in triumph over you. Again, Revelation, okay, when the angel blows a trumpet and the locusts come about, okay, these are people. And the locusts have been compared to Cush, it's been compared to Arat, and to Ashkenaz and many, and I believe that's in this chapter. Okay, yeah, it is in this chapter where they compare it. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Okay. Where are we here? So, you know, it is the peoples of the world who come into the spirit of the locusts of every race. Okay, that's what it's getting at. Okay. He made the earth by his power. He founded the world by his wisdom and stretched out the heavens by his understanding. So you say, well, where in the Bible does it say it's a martial art test? Well, a couple of Proverbs 8, okay, with Jeremiah 51, verse 15. Right? He made the earth by his power, right? The Lord is a warrior who made the earth by his power. He founded the world by his wisdom. The Lord is a warrior, the Lord Almighty, the Lord in his infinite wisdom, right? It's a warrior world. It's designed as a warrior test. And stretched out the heavens by his understanding. By understanding, right? So early man, you know, went hunting and they fought with each other a certain way. And they did that for tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years. Okay? God naturally, not concrete jungle Babylon, naturally designed it as a warrior's test. Hone your senses, insight, and wisdom. That's what Proverbs is saying. Okay? And it says, be willing to die for God. Greater love has none than this, than to lay down one's life for one's friends. Okay? And who's more of your friend than God? And it says the greatest commandment is love God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your being. So be willing, and then love your neighbors yourself. And those who are truly your neighbor, truly your family, are those who obey the commands of God. And they come through me, the gate. And I wouldn't ask you to do anything that is unfair. I wouldn't ask you to do anything out of greed. Everything I ask, all my decrees are just, morally precise, and intensely purify your soul and allow you to enter through the gates of the righteous, the gates of God. When he thunders, the waters in the heavens roar. He makes clouds rise from the ends of the earth. He sends lightning with the rain and brings out the wind from his storehouses. Okay, so when he thunders, right, the thunder in Revelation. Okay, after the last seal, there's thunder. I believe it's the trumpets or the bowls again. There's thunder when they're completed, right? It's thundering. There's an earthquake. Okay, why is there an earthquake? Well, if the waters in heaven roar, it's going to shake the earth spiritually speaking, right? So there's thunder, there's an earthquake, and he makes clouds rise from the ends of the earth. He sends lightning with the rain and brings out the wind from his storehouses. And they're not talking about the government manipulating these things to whatever degree they can. Even back in the Vietnam War, they were doing some like cloud seeding or something, causing weather manipulation. Look it up. You know, it's mainstream news. You know, so it's not talking about that. It's talking about the spiritual essence of these ideas. These ideas are symptoms of that action. If a robot, you know, mimics my strike, is it doing a strike from God? No. Okay, it's talking about the essence of a thing done by God. The essence of thunder done by God. The essence of water roaring done by God. The essence of clouds rising. The essence in the clouds is gathering of water. Water is the righteousness. We see in Isaiah, the living water. Okay, if you do God's work and you believe in God, springs of water. We see in the book of John, springs of water come out of you. Okay, it's righteousness, justice, well-being, peace with God, spiritual well-being. Okay, waters of healing, right? Being baptized, born again. Instead of born in Babylon's system, that culture, and raised by that culture, and generational cultural conditioning and epigenetics, okay, generational gene direction, gene formation, but instead it's being born in the Spirit of God and insisting that your family goes in the direction of God. As it says in Isaiah, I believe it is, it says, I am the Lord your God who directs you in the way you should go. Everyone is senseless and without knowledge. Every goldsmith is shamed by his idols. The images he makes are a fraud. They have no breath in them. They are worthless, the objects of mockery. When their judgment comes, they will perish. Notice it says everyone is senseless. I was not thinking about this. I read this and underlined it, but I didn't, I don't remember much of the chapter ahead of time. I'm doing this, kind of impromptu in a sense because they fuel me and poison me and cause me to forget things to a certain degree. But yet here I was saying that, they made the world by his wisdom and understanding, okay, and insight, okay, by his power, his spiritual power. Why? Okay, so you can hone your senses. And what is the complaint being made here in verse 17? It says everyone is senseless. They should not just have common sense, which would allow you to obey God. It says common. The average person knows to obey God. If they truly have that sense and they just don't, not just a shallow awareness of it, they're going to actually obey God. So knowing you should do it and to say, I have faith that that's what people of God should do is not enough. You have to actually do it. That's how you truly know something, is to know it to the point where you're applying it. Everyone is senseless and without knowledge. Every goldsmith is shamed by his idols. The images he makes are a fraud. They have no breath in them, right? The breath, spiritus in Latin. Spiritus in Latin means breath. Okay, so what happens when you do martial arts in a certain way, in a certain natural rhythm that comes from God? Not in the repetition of the system, but the rhythm from God. Okay, you breathe a certain way, breathing patterns. And there's a certain energy and spirit behind it and so on and so forth. They are worthless. And of course, when you make love and so on and so forth, they are worthless, the objects of mockery. When their judgment comes, they will perish. Right? They are objects of mockery. So when someone's doing martial arts without obeying God through me, they're a mocker, right? What are they doing? They feel like they're doing something. They're making it look a certain way. They're a mere actor or pretender. Remember in the other video where I cited the verse about the hypocrites, say in the Amplified version, they said hypocrites or play pretender, okay, or pretender or faker, right? Hypocrite is a fake, right? A fraud, a hypocrite, someone who is contradicting their words because they're not true to those words, so they're a pretender. So they're profane, pro-fake. They are worthless, the objects of mockery, like Captain America. If a little kid wants to be Captain America and they don't want to be in the divine order of God through me, then their parents have allowed them, they have raised them to embrace the fakery instead of this true spirit of God. And that is an outrage when you think about it. Anyone who doesn't obey God through me that someone looks up to is a false idol and a hypocrite. Because if they think the children, especially if they think the children should look up to them, they think the children should look up to them, okay? And they're pretending. They should know that the children should not look up to them. It's like when, a cop in the news, when they're being more honest, they say they were just doing their job when they saved someone's life. Say they're not some kind of true hero. They're just doing their job in a profane system. Shout out to the cops who say that. All right. He who is the portion of Jacob is not like these, for he is the maker of all things, including the people of his inheritance. The Lord Almighty is his name. Okay, so he's the portion of Jacob. He who is the inheritance, right? Is his share of life in this world. Okay, now, again, Jacob is a spiritual idea. The clouds are not literal. You have to forgive me, the Jewish people. I'm trying to help everyone, especially you, okay? Because you have gone far by confusing this story. Those of you who have. Okay? He's a figurative idea. There is no Jacob in reality that did God's work in reality. Okay? There is no person named Jacob that they're talking about individually here. They're saying the people of Jacob. They're saying the people of the idea that Jacob is superimposed on and confused by the authors of the Bible who wrote in the scribe a tradition of Nebuchadnezzar, who's a deity of scribes, a deity of worldly knowledge, to confuse you about who the line is, because they're the cult of the emperor. And the books that are being propounded in the empire of Rome and beyond, okay, were the books of the cult of the emperor.